was talking about is one of the preconditions of survival. And I'm going to address further preconditions for survival of the human kind of today, based on chapter 5 in our unit book, which is this debate. You can carry it outdoors. It's found important globally and officially by the United Nations and ISO, which is also a global worldwide organization. But as Rome has mentioned, people on the local level do not always perceive the global decisions. So we're talking about the United Nations document and talking about another document by the United Nations and by ISO, which is at the same level, to respond to the crisis which has happened due to the economic processes which are called free market and are not free market but monopolies. 80%, 80+% of the global marketplace is controlled by less than 750 organizations out of 30 million which have been surveyed. And all of them, as monopolists have the tendency to do, are allowed whatever they want to do, because nobody can object them. So they are allowed irresponsible, narrow-minded, and one-sided decisions. And therefore, we either go for social responsibility by making it, or we go to die. This is the principle which I have exposed today. I want to do it again. Ends of neoliberalism and war is what we are working on by social responsibility from the reality economics viewpoint. So we are responsible for our own survival and for our children, and I'm additionally now for the last 6 months become responsible also for the life of my great-grandchild, which I'm very happy to have. These are the topics I have mentioned earlier. This is the picture I have mentioned earlier. These are the human attributes which I have mentioned earlier. Now I'm going to the book itself. We first talked about political economy, which is nearly forgotten. The literature replaced political economy with economics, which means it replaced holism with one-sidedness in economic education. And this is a very crucial problem we are having today. We added a number of theoretical chapters and a number of applied chapters which I don't want to talk about, but this I want to stress. What we are about is assertion of social responsibility as a personal characteristic, aimed to become the dominant characteristic and activity of organizations, the entire modern society and its organs, in order for societies to find a way out of the current global socio-economic crisis. An alternative to this path is probably the Third World War. Right today I received another initiative to prevent the war between Iran and USA. Not by USA domination, of course, but by democracy, whatever it means to some people. This Third World War is pending since the war on terrorism has been proclaimed, and only last year, 70 million people, only in last year, 70 million people were pushed out of their homes for those who sell weapons to make their profits one-sidedly. And what is even more dangerous, the biggest share of the world market of weapons, which is 5 billion a day, is owned by the country members of the United Nations Security Council. Those who are supposed to take care of peace are making the biggest markets of weapons and refusing immigrants which they are causing. The poor countries are taking immigrants who are not causing the wars rather than those who are causing the wars. This is a new message of this last week. So I took another viewpoint to see how those things have been going. Starting from the principle that the socially responsible society is an innovation in making. It's an invention which has not yet become an innovation to all, which means it has not yet become beneficial to all. And we may not say that the current economy is the first market economy. Market has been around since humankind has been around. It just has been changing the types, the prevailing types. The earliest was the incidental exchange. Then those who were good in production monopolized their situation, which produced the so-called producers' market, making easy profits for them. Competitors showed up quickly. Buyers' market showed up, therefore. So there's hardly any easy profit except in weapons which are still monopolized, like producers' market. The next phase was the state-supported buyers' market, which is even less easy for profit, and people are angry about having hard times, but that's the way. And it's crisis of affluence, they call, covering 15% of humankind. No more than that, because no more than 15% have $6 a day. No more than 15% of humankind. All of us here are rich people. We could not be here otherwise. 85% cannot make it. And what we need now, and what is coming out of this situation, is the socially responsible buyers market, a new feature in the history of the market. Neoliberalism is ruining the humankind and nature. That's why we are fighting for human survival by a socially responsible buyers market. This has been accelerated very much after the Second World War, and the types of aims have been changing. Right after the war, everything which was supplied was fine. I remember going for milk, not asking the quality, just having it. So the point was then to live in dry and warm places, be dressed and not hungry. In 1950s, competitiveness was based on the same plastic good price. No care for nature yet, which you have been addressing, Raoul. In those times, no care for nature yet in those times, officially. Only 10 years later, the same was added quality and some warning about nature. In the 70s, the same was added choice and more warning about nature. In the 80s, the same was added flexibility, more choice and more warning. In the 90s, the same was added uniqueness and innovation. In 2000, the same was added care for healthy nature and documents on social responsibility, corporate level. And now we have the same plus influence of care for social responsibility on business success and end of crisis of affluence and end of global crisis, which means which humans used to experience in 2 generations of time is now experienced in a decade's time. Not 70 years, but 10 years, which is very hard for people to adapt to because the history of millions of years taught us to be routinistic rather than innovative. And this is a permanent innovation pressure. So the point comes, what is then the basis for competitiveness? The oldest one is the owning of natural resources, which causes colonies, wars, and limited social responsibility. Then when this was owned, they found out it's good to invest to better use those resources. So the same concept was around, and some charity was added. Then they found that it's easier to effort of investment by innovation. And the high standard of living resulted. Legal support to some social responsibility for more profit resulted. But when people get rich, affluence comes. And affluence means hate for hard work. Wonderful is to have time to go. Tourism flourishes never before. Drugs flourish as never before because people don't know what to do. There's too much free time. Hard work is less needed because of technology. Especially now the new issue comes with Industry 4 and Society 5, which we'll be talking about later on in this conference too. So society declines. And when the same process happened in the Roman Empire times, the town of Rome fell from 1 million to 10,000 inhabitants. So it's a real history of destruction coming out of affluence. That's why we need social responsibility of all influential persons and organizations which you have been addressing, and the awareness of dependence of humankind's survival on social responsibility as a non-technological innovation. Making this is an innovation process. Innovation process has several phases. The first one is creation of ideas. Part of them become inventions, which means promising novelty. These inventions are then noted to become suggestions. This can be diffused and sold, let's say, like patents, and further developed to create potential innovations, which means something which already is usable but not yet used. And this can again be sold. Innovations are not around yet, but patents as a raw material for innovations can be sold. So it's a possible diffusion of potential innovation phase. And then some of them create. I say some of them because 1 of 3,000 ideas is said to become innovation. No more. 1 of 3,000. And then when these innovations show up, it's a possible diffusion which happens, and this leads to a new routine. Like you mentioned the heating with coal, and this is now found normal, but it was a revolution when it showed up. And this makes then, now again, new ideas how to proceed. And this has to be managed in the process. If you want to have a viable system, it has to be managed. And the model to manage it is starting in the down right corner of this picture by monitoring the situation, by preparation of invention, and preparation of education and training for definition of mission, making a political strategy, taxes, and practice. And so it's a permanent circle which we have in practice, which can be leading either to social responsibility or against it, away from it, depending on what type of people do it. And why is this so complex? You see from this slide, take a look and think, these x's are not x's but times. Which of these points you think could be left out? Which one of them is not important? Unfortunately, none. That's why the situation is so complex. It's a huge number of synergies which show up. Sometimes engineers say, why do you mention good luck at the very end? But I was watching last night a movie about making the atomic bomb. The Germans didn't have the good luck, the Americans did. Incidentally, they found the right way to do it. And innovation is incidental. When you start the research, you don't know what will come out. It just comes what comes. And the same does not apply only to technology, it applies also to any non-technological novelty, it applies also to social responsibility. With a common denominator, for people to recognize why should we support that, honesty pays better than strikes and crises. all the way to the world wars as the worst crisis around. Thank you for war in action.